Ms. Hastings?
The next item I wanted to highlight is a seminar that we held, the science program sponsored, that was held last week in conjunction with the UC Davis Center for Aquatic Biology and Aquaculture, called "What is a Natural Hydrograph in Regulated Rivers? The Science of Natural Functional Flows to the Delta." So this all-day seminar is part of our role in synthesizing what we know about the system and bringing in knowledge from elsewhere to help us understand how our system works. This seminar was pulled together and sponsored by Peter Goodwin and by one of our staff, Chris Enright. They were able to bring in one of the premier experts in this topic, Jeff Petz, who's actually the Vice Chancellor of the University of Westminster, which in our parlance would be the president of that university. So that's, I think, quite a coup to bring someone of that stature in to spend a day with our folks. And he will also be writing with several other of the presenters an article that we hope will be published in the peer-reviewed literature. They've already talked with Sam Loam at the Online Journal and let him know this article will be coming on what do we know about in-stream flows in regulated rivers. We had participation from the state board because, of course, we expect this to inform the state board flow objectives that are being developed. So an important step in our synthesis activities. Finally, then, I wanted to talk to you as we promised, as Peter Goodwin promised at the last council meeting, switching over to the Delta Science Plan and where we are. This is our standing agenda item. You should have a copy of the outline.
This was handed out earlier, members.
You
It's
received
a
it this morning. It looks
two pieces of paper.
Two pieces of paper, almost 3 pages. Mm-hmm. So we promised you this outline, and here it is. Basically, what we've done is put into outline form what we've been presenting to you, what Peter's been presenting to you on the slides, and we've kind of embedded in small graphics to kind of remind you of the slides that Peter has shown previously, where we've embedded these topics. So I was going to just walk you through it very quickly, and we've incorporated input from you that you provide previously and from the other folks that we've been talking with. But basically just an introduction where we're laying out what the problem is in terms of why do we need a Delta Science Plan and what will that Delta Science Plan do? How is the Delta Science Plan the solution? And basically it's the solution because what we've realized we need is a framework to organize and integrate Delta Science activities to provide best available science focused on priority management issues. This is just to remind you what we've told you before. And also provides approaches for communicating science to support adaptive management decision making, and then provides tools for the science community to do both of those things, to provide that best available science and to provide it in such a way as to support adaptive management. So that's what our Delta Science Plan is intended to do and what we are reflecting in the outline. So we introduced it in Chapter 1, Introduction. This is a preliminary draft discussion document, so we're throwing it out there for your input and welcome it.
Randy.
Okay, I'll keep going. So what we're recommending, what we're addressing are both organizational structures and then processes for those structures to provide these two things, best available science and support for adaptive management. So if you recall from what Peter has talked about previously, he's talked about the role of the scientist, this was the blue circle, the role of the policymakers, that yellow bar, and then this policy science interface. So what we're going to propose in the Delta Science Plan, and right now we have this in Chapter 2, is that science policy interface. What should that look like? And we want to propose some innovative ideas on how to accomplish that. Who should make up those teams is what we're proposing. Teams that include policy maker types teams that include scientists to work together to provide the analysis of policy alternatives based on best available science. So that's what we're going to outline in Chapter 2. In Chapter 3, how can we best organize the science communities? How can we get them to work better together? This is the one Delta, one science, to be one science community to develop this science that we need to support decision-making in the Delta. And what structures can we recommend for that? Then once we have those structures, how should they go about doing it? How can they support adaptive management? And to remind you, we have a little diagram there that shows our wheel diagram, adaptive management diagram, and we've pulled out from each of those 9 steps where science fits in, and it does fit into all 9 steps, as we were reminded by Vice Chair Fiorini. So basically, talking about that and how science can best support adaptive management, and then finally, how can we best work within that science community to build a community that works together to provide best available science. And we've got each of the sub-bullets in that Chapter 5 for building best available science are areas that we think are very important areas that need to be enhanced and supported for our science community. Finally, Chapter 6 on funding Delta Science, and 7, the future of Delta Science. This outline was provided to our Delta Independent Science Board at their meeting last week. And in the report from Tracy, he may expand on this. I actually was unable to attend that meeting, so I'll provide that caveat because you can probably hear I still am recovering from a cold, so I missed the meeting last week. However, what I was told in terms of summarizing the Independent Science Board's review of this outline, that they all thought we'd made a lot of progress, gave kudos, big picture kudos for it. And 2 big picture comments that they had is, you'll notice the title on Chapter 2 says Science Policy Interface. They recommend that we separate out management and policy so that we talk about science management interface and science policy interface, and that policy and management are different and that we should treat them differently. And that apparently was supported by several, if not all, of the Science Board members. The other big picture comment that they provided was that they recommend that we, in writing the document, identify who will lead each of these efforts. Which entity or program should take a strong lead, and recommended that in many cases it be the Delta Science Program providing that leadership. And any questions on that, I think I'll defer to Tracy again, since I was not present, and he'll correct anything that I said that was incorrect. We are...
Dr. Collier, why don't you come on up, since people are talking about you before you even testify, and you're next on the order.
So if you want to talk to him about that now, or I was just going to finish with next steps. Okay.
Members, you'll recall Dr. Collier came in 2 meetings ago and stood in for our Independent Science Board chair and punished himself by voluntarily attending the entire meeting and seemed even bemused by it. Thank you. Good to see you.